Someone cooked here.
Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga is a prequel movie telling the story of how young Furiosa became the furious Furiosa she is in Mad Max Fury Road. And it's not a very nice story. She was kidnapped from her home, her mom was horribly killed, she was sold off to be a wife, she had to escape unwanted advances and live secretly as a boy. And then she basically kept losing more things like the love of her life and the arm over body. But today, I'd rather not be dark Filmento and talk about the gloomy stuff like that. I wanna be fun Filmento and talk about something more uplifting, which is action. Because basically, this movie has an abundance of some of the best action sequences you can find in modern cinema. Abundance meaning plentifulness, a copious quantity of something, or
a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff.
There's everything from heist scenes, to escape scenes, to chase scenes, to armed rescue scenes, to all kinds of awesome actiony scenes. And in this video, I will go through them for your viewing pleasure to secret their uncovers. I mean, uncover their secrets. What is it that makes the action of Furiosa so amazing, and how can we make our own action more like it? Well, to play foreshadowing Filmento for a moment, here's the answer. The action scenes here aren't just isolated action, but instead they always do more at the same time. They develop story, they reveal character, they elevate the action with extra elements. I've talked about this topic on occasion before, so let's ride back in to learn more about it.
Well, let's go have a look!
Oh, and at the end of the video, I will also be comparing this movie and its action to Fury Road to conclusively decide which is better. So stick around for that, so that you can know whether to hate me or love me or something in between. But enough from foreshadowing Filmento. Time for direct Filmento to get the motor started and take us into these action scenes, because that's what you really came for. And my priority is always to give you something to come for. You make me nice Filmento. Anyway, let's look at why the action in Furiosa is way better than basic Hollywood action and what to learn from it. Let's take as much positivity from this movie as possible, because there's already been a lot of the opposite. You know, financially it... Hold on, what was it? What was the box office budget? Yeah, it didn't do too well, which means that they're already delaying or cancelling or... I have it here, I have it in my article tabs. Yes, the next Mad Max movie now appears to not be happening at all, so F's in the chat, boys. Oh, and if you're wondering what this is, it's my browser, Opera. It has this built-in AI called Aria that you can ask questions quickly without having to click away to find the answers. It has this feature called Tab Islands where you can organize your tabs into neat groups and then collapse and expand them when needed to avoid clutter.
Oh no!
Opera has all these tools and more because, just like Furiosa, it aims to be the best at what it does, to be faster and more convenient than all other browsers.
I still feel like I gotta do more, alright? Let's go.
And you can see for yourself by downloading Opera for free with the link below. You'll also help my channel. Thanks. The first action trick here is that the action sequences don't pause the story to exist in between it, but instead they develop the story in a way that the action serves a purpose. For example, look at the war truck heist that happens after Furiosa has become part of Immortan Joe's mechanical crew, still disguised as a boy.
He's a boy. Very useful.
Basically, Furiosa assists in building this armored truck to deliver goods back and forth in the Wasteland, with their ultimate objective being to escape and find a way back home from where she was taken as a child. And right away, there's a few very noticeable story developments that this heist scene makes happen. At this point, Furiosa's kidnapper Dementus is running Oil Town with his biker gangs, but as the heist begins, it no longer appears to be so.
They ride with Dementus!
Not anymore. They've gone rogue.
Contact!
That's right, the very existence of the heist establishes that Dementus has and is losing control of his gangs as well as Oil Town itself. The story is different now than before the heist. And as for more developments, look at what happens during the rogue biker gang's attack. When the bikers launch the first wave of aerial assault, a couple courageous or dumb war boys take it down by sending themselves to Valhalla, which in the process establishes Furiosa's escape plan. When the truck's engine gets busted up in the chaos, the co-driver climbs down to fix it and ends up losing his grip along with his life, which in the process vacates the co-driver's seat that needs to be filled later. When Furiosa is forced to save the truck from the assault, a couple things happen in the process. She proves herself as a competent convoy member, and she's also revealed to be Zonk,
A woman! A woman!
which changes the story into something very different compared to what it was before the heist. Furiosa is no longer a fake boy hiding as a mechanic. She's a woman working as the truck's co-driver. Without this action sequence, the story literally wouldn't function. The action is the story, right? And to go more in depth on this, look at the character journey that Furiosa goes through in the heist scene, how the scene advances her arc. See, the reason a lot of audiences accuse many modern, especially female action heroes to be shallow caricatures is because they suddenly just are what they need to be. Yeah, I'll hop in this spaceship and fly it perfectly against expert pilots even though I've never been shown to fly anything before. That's what often gets termed Mary Sue. I'm not saying that's a term that should be used or not, I'm just saying that that's the reason it's used. And the reason the term is not used with Furiosa is because this action scene is all about introducing what she is and what she can do. When the bikers swoop in to plant the bomb on the bottom of the truck, Furiosa immediately crawls to it to cut the fuse, which showcases her ability to think and act quick on her feet. When the truck's co-driver loses his life before fixing the busted engine, Furiosa takes up his mantle and goes to finish the job, which showcases the ability she has learned working as a mechanic. When the bikers commandeer the convoy car and use it to box the truck in, Furiosa climbs up to put the bomb to good use, which showcases her ability to plan ahead. In other words, the action has a point. It's not about Furiosa just hopping in the driver's seat to take down the biker assault on her own like a badass because that's very cool to look at. No, it's about developing Furiosa and her journey. Yes, she can use a gun, but she still plays more of an assisting role. She still relies on others to do their job. She still clearly needs others. The point of the heist is to organically introduce and bring about an altered future.
You got good vision. You read the play and you keep your head. You may be raw, but you have about you a purposeful savagery. You give me time, I'll teach you everything you need to know about road war.
Great action doesn't stop the story to simply deliver great action. Great action progresses and changes the story with the action, like how the Citadel assault showcases the war boy's dedication to Immortan Joe and the power he commands because of it. Things are very different after the scene compared to before it. Action tells the story. The second action trick here is that the action sequences consist of characters being forced to make choices to reveal who they are deep down, in a way that builds emotion.
You're scum, Dementus! Scum!
A good example of this is the bullet farm ambush, which happens after Furiosa has spent time working with Praetorian Jack as the war truck's co-driver. Basically, Furiosa is planning to run home with Jack today after they finish their run of getting ammunition from the bullet farm. But unfortunately, turns out that Dementus, being the Great Dementus, has secretly invaded the farm to start a war.
Oh,
So now, the heroes run into a trap that only Furiosa manages to avoid. And although this sequence is less story development and more heroes gunning down enemies like badasses, it's still not just loud action noise. Because now, the point is about the relationship between Furiosa and Jack and the emotion within it. The point of the action is characters making decisions to reveal the truth about them and the bonds they share. Right away, Furiosa has a chance to get out alone, but she chooses to stay to help Jack. And when Jack realizes that time is running out, he takes the attackers head on so that Furiosa would flee. And although Furiosa considers fleeing, she ultimately decides against it. She grabs a sniper, runs into position to cover Jack, and also lands her sight on the man who killed her mom, a man now trying to kill her closest friend. Suddenly, the scene is all about Furiosa not letting Dementus hurt another person she cares about, as well as getting revenge for her mom. And when Dementus finally lands an RPG shot on Furiosa, Jack looks at it like, hell nah, and he decides to take down the whole place even if it means going down with it. Once again, on screen the action is loud CGI mayhem, but emotionally it's way more. It's about choices exploring personalities and relationships. Even though at the end of the scene we kind of narratively are where we started, emotionally speaking we're way further. That's the secret to this scene's greatness. Another good example is Dementus, just him and his crazy decisions. See, he's implied to have a tragic backstory of losing his family to the ruthless Wasteland, which has turned him into this twisted, broken villain. But the choices he makes reveal him to be way more layered than that. Like yes, Dementus runs in to save young Furiosa in the Citadel assault, which shows that he cares about her enough like a daughter to risk his life for her. But then all of a sudden, he's willing to trade her away like a product if it means getting what he needs. Like yes, Dementus is willing to give his enemies a second chance, and he talks about a community over kings and queens, and he's always looking for ways to feed and re-equip his men, which shows that he's at least trying to be a proper leader. But then all of a sudden, he's willing to kill his own men like nothing. To throw his closest assistant in the flames just for a 15-minute head start on his pursuer.
What do you suppose I want?
Me, without my crew. Yeah, no time for long goodbyes. We've done some mighty things together. Goodbye.
Altogether, it's like Dementus is, or at least wants to be, a good guy who unfortunately has this deeply narcissistic and opportunistic core brought up by this world. Even if he could go back in time to fix his worst mistakes,
Yeah, boy.
he'd probably make them all over again. He's kind of like if Bruce Wayne grew to become the Joker instead of Batman. And the only reason I think that is because of the choices he makes, especially in the action. He's not just talk, he walks the walk. He's willing to do whatever it takes to get on top of this mad, unfair wasteland.
You make me the Dark Dementus. The Dark Dementus cannot afford to be soft. It's the price I pay to be your leader. The price we all pay to survive in the wasteland. We cannot be soft.
My point is that the action isn't empty, it's emotional exploration of character. Furiosa choosing to save the truck in the heist. Furiosa choosing to ride up the massive dune, much like Dementus, to get done what needs to be done. The original co-driver realizing that Furiosa is a traitor and not caring so long as the truck and the crew get saved. Action like this reveals who characters truly are and where their priorities lie, which is what keeps the audience fully invested. The third action trick here is that extra elements are added on top of the basic idea of the action to make it special, which I've discussed before with Michael Bay movies, and I'll do again because clearly it's important. The opening chase, for example, is pretty simple on paper. Young Furiosa gets kidnapped from home by raiders and her mom has to save her. But that's not all this chase scene is. It's not just vroom vroom bang bang. The mom at first is moving on a horse, so there's variety in vehicles. The mom's mission isn't only to save her child, but also to kill every raider before they can tell anyone about the place they found, which is unusual mom behavior. The chase has this aspect of stop and go, which makes it more of a battle of attrition lasting for hours as opposed to traditional go go go. And there's also a scavenging aspect where every time one bike falls, it has to be quickly used for parts by both parties, like a pit stop competition. Even though these are very small and unnecessary elements, their combination makes this sequence its own thing. You can find motor chases with kidnapped girls in countless movies, but only in here you can find this. The extra elements added on top of the basic concept of the chase make this a Mad Max chase.
We're gonna make it!
But as a bigger example, let's take another look at the truck heist sequence. The basic idea here is that a rogue biker gang shows up to take out the truck's crew and steal the goods, which on paper means more vroom vroom bang bang bang. But since that alone wouldn't be very special or unique, the sequence is elevated with extra material. One side of this that I already touched on is that Furiosa is hiding in the bottom. As the truck's engine gets busted, she has to crawl up to it to fix it, all while the assault is going on around her. You don't see that in every car heist scene, mostly only in here. Another side is the biker side, which includes an aerial attack. They activate parachutes behind the bikes to get elevation and then rain down explosives. They use self-propelling parachutes, an improvised plane, and even an aerial turret manned by the boss. Very specific obstacles requiring very specific solutions that don't exist in a lot of movies, mostly only in here. And then there's the truck side, which consists of those solutions. There's a hydraulic hand, which is used to deal with enemies below as well as above. There's the bomb, which is used to do what bombs do. There's a harpoon, which is used to deal with aerial grunts as well as the boss. And there's a device in the back of the truck, which Furiosa dashes to on a sliding floor to win the game. Once again, very small things on their own, but smashed together into the sequence, they create action that exists only in here. And in this manner, after figuring out the basic idea of your action scene, you want to be like Michael Bay and look for extra material to make it unique and special. It can be a guy jumping down from a cliff with explosives and hooks raining down like in a deadly game of fishing. It can be a motor chase built on the differences of the cars and the different routes they're able to take. Or it can be real-life wingsuiting in a city, which to this day only exists in one movie and can be seen only by watching that movie. None of these elements absolutely need to exist, yet their existence is what makes the action stand out. They validate the price of admission.
So Michael Bay watched 60 Minutes one night, and he saw Julian and I flying around mountains in Norway. He called Spielberg and was like, I gotta have wingsuits in Transformers 3.
Shut up and take my money!
And although there may be many reasons why one new Mad Max movie is better than the other, like the fact that one has more content in terms of relationships and dynamics, I would argue a key reason to be this extra element method. See, I haven't seen Fury Road in a while, but I can still vividly remember the action. It had this insane amount of added material that didn't need to be there, yet still made it all what it is. I think the action in Furiosa is awesome, but Fury Roads is on another level. You just have to see it for yourself. And to be clear, I'm only making this comparison to highlight how important this method is. All basic concepts of action already exist, so the only way to make your action scene stand out is to elevate it with extra elements. Even if the other parts of your action are lacking, you handle this really well, and people still have to come see your action movie because it's the only place where they can see it.